Welcome to the pre-race happy hour. My name is Joe Fleenor. I'm one of the owners and race directors for Magic Sports, along with...
I'm Faye Yates, the other owner and race director for Magic Sports.
And we're here on our second edition of the pre-race happy hour podcast.
Yeah.
This time talking about our 2024 Publix Chattanooga Waterfront Triathlon.
Yeah, so exciting. 42 years this race has been going on.
For real? 42?
I'm not making that up.
That's impressive. I'm only 42 years old.
Right, aren't you?
I think I said that last podcast. I'm just going to insert that every podcast.
Aren't you? Because you know I'm more than that.
Well, we're going to get to what we insert every time in your podcast, which is you went to Vanderbilt. But we'll get there later.
Indeed.
Let's start because we got a lot to talk about with this race, being
Right.
that it's one of our biggest, if not the biggest race we produce each year.
Yep.
We got some new things to talk about, but for those of you who have not participated in this event, there's a lot of history with this race. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk a little bit here briefly just about the race history, because it has been around for a long time.
It's been around for a long time, way before we were into this. I wasn't even thinking about triathlon in 1983. I was playing fast pitch softball and basketball.
What position?
Shortstop, well, second, and then shortstop.
Were you good? Actually, you've shown me your yearbooks.
Joe, you know.
You're all over that yearbook.
You know.
You were valedictorian, right?
Salutatorian.
Salutatorian.
Almost best, yeah.
And what other honors did you get?
I don't know. I was in sports. It was
just all of them.
all of them. best offense, best defense.
Best offense, best defense.
Most likely to succeed. I know it's a lot.
And yet here you are at Magic Sports.
Here I am. Lucky you. Lucky
Well,
you.
congratulations on all your accolades.
Thank you.
As a junior.
Let's get back to Chattanooga
Let's get
Waterfront
back to
Triathlon.
Chattanooga.
It started not as Chattanooga Waterfront Triathlon. It started as the Riverbend Triathlon along with a music festival in 1983.
That's pretty cool.
It's cool.
I
Yeah.
mean, why do we not continue with the music festival component for this? That
Well-
seems like something we should.
Let's talk about the music we're going to have this year.
That's true. I forgot.
We will have music.
That's true. Okay. We'll get
It's not
there.
a music festival, but it's going to be fantastic. So, we weren't involved in this way back when. It had a festival going on. That's kind of how triathlons. This is 1983. Triathlons were barely happening, Joe. I mean, it was a thing. It's a
the
big
niche
deal.
of the niche.
It was the niche of the niche.
Yeah.
And then that went on for a while. And what year? It became another triathlon, which I raced in.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
When it turned names to...
It turned names to the Chattanooga Dam Triathlon. They hosted that at,
That
guess what?
damn
The Chattanooga
triathlon?
Dam.
I've heard a lot about it.
I did that damn triathlon. I had a great time. I used to race a lot.
Okay.
Not much
Did you?
anymore.
Did you win the damn triathlon?
I did not.
Okay.
But I had a friend that won
Oh,
that triathlon 10 years apart, like 1987 and 1997.
wow.
That says a lot about our sport, Joe. That's cool.
Yeah, that 10 years apart, you can still go back and...
You can still do it. I love it.
that. That's
Yeah.
very cool. So what year, do you remember off the top of your head, what year it went from the Dam Triathlon to Chattanooga Waterfront Triathlon?
2005.
2005, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a phone call, said, hey, you guys interested in coming on down and joining the party?
Oh, nice.
And we did.
So the Magic Sports, back then Team Magic,
Magic,
involvement with the race began in 2005.
2005.
And prior to that was controlled by who?
The Chattanooga Track Club.
Okay. Which
Yeah.
was our partner up until
Which
here
was our
recently.
partner up until recently,
Okay.
and still our good friends. We moved the race at that time to downtown Chattanooga because that's what we do, Joe. Like with Music City Tri, we took that over and said, let's go downtown.
Epic locations for
Yeah.
epic races.
They just renovated that waterfront in Chattanooga, which anybody that has been there knows it's amazing.
Yep.
And we just said, we need to be there. And we're so happy we are.
The venue itself, which we'll get into, is superb. As Ironman knows, they host 2 events down there, but they don't hold anything compared to what we do down there.
Yeah, we were there long before them. So we got the party started for sure.
There we go.
And and we're still doing the same thing, in the same venue, the same awesome course. No, it's not the same. The course has changed a couple of times. The course is more favorable for the athletes now in terms of not being hilly. It was
Yeah.
hilly before. It's
Yeah.
not hilly anymore, which is nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. Some new things, some old things, some highlights, but this is a happy hour. And we intend to partake in some beverages
Yeah.
during these podcasts. And so for those of you that are listening to us, we hope you're enjoying one as well for your happy hour. But today, we are highlighting another local drink. Last week, these are currently unsponsored highlights, but we do like to bring in some local drinks of choice. And last week for our last podcast for our Music City Try, we had the homestyle drink by Bearded Iris, which we both love.
So good.
For the IPA fans, it's a fantastic beer. This time around, we're going a little different, a little something stronger. One of our favorite drinks, you and I both, gin and tonic, featuring Gate 11 Distillery out of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So they have a really lovely dry gin that we're going to try. Both you and I we've neither had this, right?
No, it's the first time.
It's the first time.
I mean, I've had a gin and tonic, Joe, but you said that. It is one of our favorite drinks.
So
it's a great summertime drink.
It's a great summertime drink, and I'm going to pull out some utensils here, and we're just going to make ourselves a cocktail here.
Look at that. Look at that magic little bag you've got over there. It's a magic Publix bag.
Yeah, I mean, Publix is the title sponsor, so we got to plug them. Wait. Oh, so I see you brought your Vanderbilt
Well,
glass.
I grabbed a glass. I just grabbed a glass.
I mean, notice mine's just classy.
As is mine, Joe.
Now, just because we did this last time, I'm a Tennessee grad. You're a Vandy grad.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that.
Now, where's Vanderbilt in College World Series right now? Okay, let's move on. All right, that ice situation. Sorry for the kind of clip there. Took me a little bit longer than I thought to scoop that ice out, so we kind of pushed pause on the podcast.
Well,
but we're back.
Practice makes perfect.
Why did I just open 2 of these, by the way? We got plenty.
I guess
we're gonna make
a couple of drinks, Joe. Apparently, we're gonna have to keep drinking. Stay with us. Could get interesting. So while you're doing that, what we're going to talk about today. Let's talk about that. We're going to go through some key highlights of the race, and we're going to talk about some course safety things. What we're not going to do is get way into the weeds, Joe. We're not going to get into the things that we have resources for elsewhere, like on our website and our pre-race emails. We will not dive into that.
And let's also just be fully transparent about that as well. We want views and listens.
Yeah, right.
And we know getting in the weeds sometimes loses our audience.
Yeah.
So we want to keep our audience. And so we're going to keep it to the fun, high-level stories. Here's your gin and tonic. Now, this is with a little lime.
Looks great.
Cheers.
Cheers, Joe.
It's refreshing. Gate 11.
Nice job.
Solid. I think next time I might
like it.
upgrade our tonic selection. It's, we were limited on our Canada Dry. There's some better options out there.
Okay, we'll bring it back.
Okay.
The gin and tonic will be back.
So earlier, we talked a little bit about the Riverbend Music Festival.
Right.
And you gave a little tease that we do have some music this year.
We do. Tell us about it, Joe.
We're pretty excited about it. So this is something that, full transparency again, it was not something that we necessarily planned for, but it sort of, an opportunity arose and we're fortunate for it.
Yeah.
So a participant from last year's season 23 of The Voice, which by the way, 23 seasons. It's incredible. Yeah. Anyways,
it's a long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. So one of the participants from season 23, a Nashville resident, Kate Cosentino, if you remember her, if you're a Voice viewer, which you are, right?
I'm a viewer. She was on Team Nile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her husband is actually racing in Chattanooga, and Kate is reached out to us, and she asked if she could come and perform at the race.
And that was so fun.
Fantastic opportunity for us and her to be in front of our crowd. So Kate's going to be with us, and we had a chance to listen to her and learn a little bit more about her. And I just had to share this one quick story because I think it's hilarious. I think it's a fantastic way to describe her, especially once you listen to her and see her. It's a fantastic description, but I'm just going to read it verbatim.
Yeah.
Well-versed in the art of puns and guitar shredding, Kate Cosentino's music is something of jazzy sleekness atop the lyrical precision of witty slam poetry. I mean, that is right there.
What a description. She belongs with us.
She belongs with us. So we're excited about having Kate join us. She's going to be doing the post-race, during the post-race party, she's going to be performing during that. So all the spectators that hang out at the finish line are going to get a chance to hear her. And then once you finish the race, you can hang out.
Yeah.
A couple other really fun things that have been we've been doing for years now with these partnerships is I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about Addie Ray Racing and Spark that are joining us again.
Yeah, so we have two really cool categories. So the push assist categories that team Addie Ray Racing, Chris Ray and his wife have put together. And honestly, do you know how many teams we have this year?
I have not looked at
I think
that
we
yet,
had like
but
5 teams last year, maybe.
It's a good number.
So these are, they're helping people move through the course through assistance through the swim. They're in a raft in the swim. Someone pull them in the raft. They have a bike with them on the run, and then the push on the bike, and then a push on the run. If for no other reason to come to this race to witness this is just I get emotional every year.
Yep.
It's just so great to have them as part of it. And like I said, it's grown every year. I'm not sure how many teams they have yet this year. And then Spark that's a group of para-triathletes.
Mm-hmm.
So that also has grown. And there's something about Chattanooga Waterfront. I think these people have been inspired to come to this race. And it's just such a significant part of the race now.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's been maybe in the last 5 years it's grown.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. And our hope is that continues to grow others from across the country that see this as a very welcoming race, an opportunity
Absolutely.
for them to come race triathlon.
Yeah.
And we have a big portion of our triathlon areas set up designated for them and what their needs are. So it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Other kind of fun things about this year's race, which I think we'll continue to see growth in this, but currently we have 28 different states represented that are coming to race this race.
Cool.
Plus Washington, D.C.
Yep.
And then Canada is coming. So we're well represented across the U.S.
Which we love that.
Chattanooga Waterfront Triathlon in years past has been a national championship level event. So we get a lot of people that have exposure to this race.
Yeah. And they love us, Joe. They come back.
They love us and they come back. One thing we have not talked about, and I just thought about it thinking about our representation across the U.S. is USA Today.
Oh, wow. We haven't talked about that.
So recently, like within the last couple of months, USA Today had essentially a vote from their readers, which we had no idea was going on. So this was totally organic.
Total surprise. Yeah.
But they asked readers of USA Today what your favorite short distance triathlons were across the United States. And Chattanooga Waterfront was listed as a top 10 race in the United States by readers of USA Today without our involvement whatsoever.
Yeah.
But not just that, we also had the Eddie Farrell Music City Triathlon as well. So two of our races made the top 10. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah. I'm so glad you remembered to bring that in.
Cheers. Again.
Cheers. Yeah. I need to have another sip, so it's another thing to cheer.
We need to celebrate more our wins, and that's a win for us. So it's kind of exciting.
For sure. Unsolicited. Yeah. Praise.
So,
we like it.
Other big wins for us recently are the exposure to new athletes.
Yeah.
We've talked, I believe, last podcast about the number of new athletes we had at Music City.
Yep.
We'll continue that on each of them. But this year, currently, we're roughly 2 weeks out at the time of our recording of the podcast. We're sitting at about a 246 first-time triathletes that are going to be coming to this race, which is about 24% of our athletes currently.
Right.
So that's pretty significant.
That is really significant. And the other good number that's significant is we are over 50% people that haven't raced this race before.
Isn't that amazing?
It blows my mind every time. I mean, it really does. Because you think, triathlon seems like niche sport, same people. It's not.
No.
Yeah.
And it's not just Chattanooga. This is kind of representative across all races we do.
It is.
So it's, I always say it's a good thing and a bad thing. One, we want to have a lot more repeat customers, which we do. We're different in the sense that we have a lot of races across the Southeast, so people have choices to do. They don't only have to do one. But it's fun to get to expose a lot of brand new people to our races.
Absolutely. So. People like to travel around and do different things. And I think that's the thing that we've learned is that they're not going to do the same race every year.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So there's a few things we're going to talk about that are new this year.
Right.
But before
not
we
much.
get in,
there's a lot the same.
You're right. There's a lot the same, and we're going to actually talk about what's not new this year. Which for those of you who have raced this race, which is 46% of our participants have actually done this race in the past, a lot of it's the same. So there's not a lot of surprises this year. Yeah. Some of the new things, or some of the consistent things that you can come to expect is, one, our good friends at Publix here.
There we go.
Who joined us last year as our title sponsor, has returned this year as the title sponsor for the Chattanooga Waterfront Triathlon. They're back. Super excited to have Publix. They'll be on site. Just One More Foundation. They're one of our charity partners and sponsors. Talk a little bit about their involvement in the race, and also one of the really cool features about the donation piece of that as well.
Yeah. So Just One More Foundation, the person that founded that, he's got a great story. We don't have time to get into his story, but you need to look that up. And you can access that from our website, right?
Yes, there's
So
a link.
they have a link to their site. Okay. He was on one of the morning shows. I mean, this is like a big deal. It's a really neat story. So go check out Just One More Foundation and get into the weeds of that, because it's a really special program that he helps a lot. They help a lot of people. The founder has raced our race and has been a longtime sponsor. He's always been very involved with the Chattanooga Track Club. And he has told us that there's an anonymous donor this year that will match all
Dollar for dollar.
dollar donations, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And we have no idea who this is.
We don't know
it's an
who it
anonymous
is.
donor, but
Yeah.
what a cool thing.
So, I mean, if you go read about this program, I think you're going to want to, you can go back in and donate. A lot of you have registered,
Yeah.
You can still go back in and donate.
Still go back in and donate.
We make
Yep.
it easy. Yeah.
We make it easy on our site, but you can also just go directly to the source and
That's right.
donate directly to
That's
their
right.
website as well.
Yeah.
Another key partner that's, nothing new, Maker Patton Tennis Club, which is the home of our Olympic swim start this year.
Right.
So we're excited to be back at Maker Patton.
So nice. It's such a nice facility, and they're such nice people, and to welcome us there. Yeah.
I used to be in the tennis world prior to my triathlon world, and I used to say that if I could own a tennis club, it would be Maker Patton. It's
Wow.
gorgeous. It's right on the river.
Yeah.
It kind of has everything you want in a tennis club feel, and they got it. So we're excited about them.
And how cool is it that they added this dock? So they're not, they're part of the community, Joe. We're not just a tennis club. It's enough that they're a fantastic tennis
Yeah.
club, but they've got this amazing dock. And when they put that in, we were on it.
Yeah.
As soon as we heard that word, it's like, oh, that's just a beautiful place to start this race.
Yeah. Coca-Cola as well.
Coca-Cola, Joe. Have I told you this about Coca-Cola?
Did you like Coca-Cola?
If I'm going to drink a soda, it's definitely going to be a Coca-Cola, 100%.
Yep.
And I do also love their Powerade.
I have a fun story for you after you tell me your story.
Okay.
It just hit me.
What's important is that Coca-Cola is the longest running sponsor for previously Team Magic Sports.
The longest running sponsor.
Yeah, so they were on board.
How far have they run?
Well, they've been running. Well, let me tell you this. It's kind of like Forrest Gump. They've been running with us
Okay.
since the early 90s.
Wow.
So they've been doing a lot of running.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Did you know? One, you did know this because we talked about it earlier. I'm celebrating 20 years of being married this year,
I
so
do
that's
know.
exciting.
Yeah.
But when I got married, back in the early days of my life, I was really into Coca-Cola. I drank like 6 a day back when
Wow.
I had an incredible metabolism.
Yeah.
So much so that I loved it that my groomsman cake was like Coke, like a 6-pack of Cokes.
That is fantastic.
It was pretty nice cake. And it's a very expensive cake, but that was how much I loved
Yeah.
Coke.
We need to share that photo with our
I
friends
need to find
at Coca-Cola.
I forgot. I don't know why I just thought about that. Anyways.
I love
Obviously, there's many more sponsors that we could talk about that has been partners with ours for many years.
Yep.
As well as the course itself, which let's talk very briefly about the course itself because nothing's really changed. But I think it's
Right.
important to kind of talk about the high level of what to
Yeah.
expect for the course, especially for the new people. Let's start with the swim.
Mhm.
Why don't you talk a
Yeah,
little bit about
let's
the
talk about
course?
swim.
Yeah.
We just talked about where the Olympics starts. You go upriver, and which you start a mile upriver, basically, roughly, and swim with the current, Joe. So it's fantastic. It's what I call a downhill swim. So you have a downhill, very fast swim, which is superb, and the sprint does the same thing. They just start a little bit closer. They can walk to their start from the transition area from the site. You can also walk to the Olympic start,
Yeah.
or we have shuttles. You can take a shuttle bus.
Yep.
Save your legs. So the swim is fantastic. It's fast. We come out some really amazing steps. Do you know the story of the steps, Joe?
Clueless. But please tell me because I love to hear new stories about steps.
We had a partnership. So Team Magic at the time
Mhm.
and the Chattanooga Track Club had a contact with a local engineering firm that built some fantastic steps for us to attach to the hard edge
I
for our
know
race.
these steps.
Do you know these steps?
I've seen these steps in many a race.
Many a race. So they're fantastic. I mean, they're massive. They're safe. They work,
And they're ours.
and they're ours.
Now tell me who else uses these steps?
Well, it's a small company. people may or may not be familiar with. No joke. So, no joke, Joe.
No joke, Joe.
Ironman uses those steps for their 70.3 in May, and then
I think that's
their fall Ironman in
the
Chattanooga.
The largest 70.3 race in the world is in Chattanooga.
So,
and all of those 4,000 athletes come out on Magic Sport steps.
Tells you how great those steps are, that they've lasted all these years with us and with Ironman.
Why have we not re-carpeted those steps to just have Magic Sports branding all over them?
Ooh.
That would be smart, wouldn't
That
it?
would be pretty, too.
Okay, well.
Yeah. Okay, so after the swim, we have a bike that is a nice flat, you do a small climb outside of transition.
It's really small.
A gentle climb. It's gentle. It's not a steep climb. And then it's flat. It's a flat out and back course. 1 loop for the sprinters and 2 loops for the Olympic.
Yep.
People love the course. And then the run, same. Two loops for the Olympic, 1 for the sprint on a beautiful Riverside Greenway.
Yep.
And it's flat.
Same courses we've had the last number of years, and everybody loves it, and we're super excited about it. The one thing that changed a couple of years ago, but the same this year, is we now finish down by the water on the hard edge. So no longer up by transition, but down by the water, which is, I think, an incredible improvement.
It's a nice improvement.
That we're excited about. Which leads us to what's new for 2024, as there's not a lot new, but there is one thing that's a minor shift. You want to talk about what's new?
Yeah, so we got the word that our transition area, which is beautiful, by the way, it's a nice green space instead of being on pavement. We sometimes have the luxury of being on grass. It's a high use area, and so they've had some trouble with the sod, and about a third of the green, they wanted to resod it. But they didn't have time to get that done, completed, so it'd be safe for us to be on for our race. So we think it's still going to be okay.
Yeah.
But if it's not okay, then we had to come up with Plan B. And Plan B is to slide over to some pavement in a parking lot. And when we looked at that, we thought, you know what? Maybe we need to move our finish area in alignment with that parking lot, because that's a really beautiful spot anyway. Mm-hmm. It's where our finish line came through anyway.
Yep.
It just wasn't where the post-race party was.
Yep.
And we just had a great experience with Music City Tri, with a little beautiful area with some trees around it. And we really enjoyed that. So we're going to do it. We're going to move over where there's a few trees around, a little more intimate environment.
It's going to create a much more vigorous, I use that word, finish line atmosphere as well.
Yeah.
Versus, just having some spectators hanging around the fence and moving on to the post-race area, which is away from the finish line. Now the party's still there going on. So there's going to be a lot of action in that space.
I think it's a good move.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it play out.
But just to clarify, we have not moved transition. It's in the same spot, which in my opinion is perfect. It's so beautiful right next to the aquarium in that green space, even though some of it might not be as green as used to be.
Yeah.
It's fine. And then next year we get brand new sod in most of it. So we're excited about the future.
We're excited about that. And when things like that happen, look what, we came up with a new idea out of that. So I think that's what we do.
We're flexible.
Because we're magic.
We're magic.
I haven't had that much gin and I'm getting
I've had a lot. But I am enjoying it. So is there anything else really that we need to kind of make sure that our listeners and viewers know about this year's Publix Chattanooga Waterfront Triathlon that we have not talked about? We're not going to go into detail on all the things about where relays line up and aquabike and all that stuff. We have resources that can explain that. We can also answer all that offline.
Absolutely.
But for today's purposes, anything else that we need to talk about?
I think there's a couple of things that came up at our last race, the Eddie Farrell Music City Triathlon, which was just a little over a week ago. We had, some people that maybe haven't raced before that were maybe not aware of the bike rules. And we want to talk about just safety on the course. We didn't have any issues. Let me just say there were no incidents.
Let's create a top 3 list.
Okay.
Top 3 course safety ideas that we can explain to our listeners right now.
Yeah.
And then I think let's just go ahead and include it in all of our pre-race emails as well.
I'm fine with that.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, let's go. Let's hear it.
Well, number 1, let's just start in transition. So in transition, you have a space. You have a space on a bike rack that where your bike goes. When you start in that space, you need to end in that space. And your bike doesn't need to be on your partner's space or fall into your partner's things with the person. When I say partner, the person beside you.
Meaning when you come back into transition off the bike, just be a little careful where you place your bike, that it's going back to where it first belonged.
In the heat of the moment, you're so excited. You finish the bike course. You're heading out on the run. Sometimes you might drop your helmet. It may land on their things. Well, guess what? You're slowing them down when they come back. It's just respect. That's all.
It's something that is rarely talked about, but it happens more than you think. It
happens quite a bit, and it's a little bit of a nuisance for people.
They
get over it,
yeah.
But it's a nuisance. So if you can, keep your things in your space, it's a safety
respectful
thing too.
And tidy.
It's also safety because your things could roll out into the way, someone could trip on it. So let's be careful and tidy and respectful in transition.
Okay, that's number one.
Number two, all races at all times, you stay to your right unless you're passing.
So we're talking bike course.
Bike course.
Okay. So you're on the bike course.
Yeah, not on the run. That's not necessary.
You're on the bike course and stay right at all times unless passing. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yes.
And why?
Yeah. So everyone needs to be able to pass. So if someone is coming behind you, like maybe someone's not a great swimmer, but they're a fantastic biker, you're ahead of them, they're going to want to come around you on the bike and they need space to pass because we only have so much room in the lane. So as you pass someone, you move back over to the right to allow the next person to pass you. Okay. And you also, as you're passing, I think this may be the third thing. Be respectful as you're passing.
It is the third thing, yes.
Yeah. So let's be respectful as you're passing and not pass too closely to make the person nervous. And if the person happens to be grabbing their bike bottle out or something like that at the same time you're passing, things could go awry quickly.
So for that one, as we mentioned earlier, we have roughly 54% of our athletes have never done this race. 24% or somewhere around that number have never done a race, period. So oftentimes, the bulk of our athletes are not, pro triathletes,
right,
or even like seasoned athletes. They're relatively new weekend warrior athletes that come out. We want to keep them in the sport. And oftentimes negative impressions of the sport, such as this, occur. And we hear about it.
Yep.
We hear about it post-race, about how intimidated they are by what they call the bros that are out there on the course. They're like flying by them with their disc wheels and right up against them. And so just, be a little careful, knowing that the audience out there isn't always your competitive triathlete. They're just out there to have a good time. And it gets very intimidating and scary for them when they get buzzed by on the bike.
Yep, exactly. And you should be passing one at a time. I mean, there should be plenty of room to pass. Yeah. Just give a little space.
Yep, totally.
Just common respect.
We have plenty of room.
Plenty of room.
Okay. Well, that, I believe, concludes our second edition of our podcast. This one I've really enjoyed because I'm a huge gin and tonic fan. I wish we had more time because I would have really enjoyed to pour a second glass.
I was hopeful we would have a second glass because you opened both cans of the...
Well, we can just do it offline, I guess. So, Faye, good to talk to you. I hope our listeners had a good time.
Hope you had a good time.
And reach out anytime through our socials, through our email, if you have any questions about the race or any of our races, and we'll be happy to assist.
See you in Chattanooga. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.